Okay, I want to make this video before I forget. So, I was just, I talk to myself a lot. I know, it sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually a really, really, really good thing to talk to yourself. Because you get some clarity sometimes. Information you can't get from anywhere else when you talk to yourself. Don't let people tell you it's stupid. It helps me so many times to figure out just simple problems. But listen, before I forget. I was thinking again, talking to myself, and I just remembered clear as day what happened to me right before I wanted to commit suicide. I know, it sounds bad, but it's good that you can actually remember the stuff. It's good that I didn't commit suicide. That's the plus. But I remember something. In that moment, the world went blank. I couldn't hear, see anything from anybody or anything. It's like the world just went totally dead silence. And the only thing that was in my head was, here's a perfect opportunity to throw out this garbage. The fact that I was married, I have kids, people who depend on me, none of that mattered. Absolutely none of it. I couldn't explain it to anybody, but now I can actually explain it. I had an opportunity to throw out this garbage. That's the only thing that was going through my head. Because I felt so useless. I literally felt like a piece of just garbage that I needed to throw out. It was my blank moment. It's one of my blank moments in life. And I've had a few of them because I've been hospitalized so much. But this was the closest I've ever gotten to actually committing suicide. And I couldn't remember what in the moment, but given enough time, sometimes things will come to you, your brain will just bring it up without even remembering or knowing. And I just had to say, and I hope this message gets across to more people. I really hope so. Because this is a very important message, especially to people like therapists and medical doctors who've been trying to figure out what go on through people's heads before they commit suicide. Well, I can tell you, nothing, absolutely nothing. The world goes blank. Absolutely everything, everything shuts off. All your senses shut off. All of it, it all goes blank. Everything just shuts. Your body literally shuts itself off. And the only thing that's going is just your thoughts on a fact that, at least this is for me. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, this is what happened to me. My brain shut off. I couldn't hear nothing. I couldn't feel anything. Like everything just shut down. My whole body just shut down. And the only thing I remember was the fact that here's a perfect opportunity to throw out this garbage. Because I felt so useless. I felt so useless. And I still do sometimes. Thank goodness for small mercies. Because I have a hobby. And my hobby keeps my mind active enough to block out my depression. And I'm so thankful for small blessings. So let me get back to the topic on hand here, because I don't want to forget this, because this is the important part. At that moment when I was so depressed to the point where I want to take my own life. Yes, I've been there more than once. But this was the closest time I've ever gotten to the point where I actually wanted to do it. And I totally forgot what that experience was like, and I just remembered. I know I'm rambling on, but please bear with me. I was in a total... I'm going to try to put you in this mindset. Bear with me. It's going to probably take a minute. I love words. Words hate me. Keep saying it. I can explain myself to me perfectly, but when it comes to explaining to other people, I get draw blanks. or they don't understand me when I say it. So I'm doing my best to try and get this out so someone else understands and can not get there. That's my hope, that I can save someone else's life just the way I saved my own. Listen up. So, before I even get to that point, I have to give you some context, because context makes, to me, if you have lead-up information to a thing, you kind of can put the picture together even if you don't have all the information. So you need some context so you can stitch pieces together. So let's go with the context. The context was, before then, I was doing things or a job that I felt unappreciated. And I've been doing this for years. Felt totally unappreciated, right? Then I got to the point where I was in so much pain because I have neck pain, back pain. One of my shoulders is not doing so well, and I think the other one's starting to compensate now. My spine hurts. My legs hurt every so often. And in between all of that, I was actually trying to survive and take care of my family. But because all of that was happening, I still felt useless, like I wasn't living up to my full potential, put it that way. And a lot of that's happening right now. A lot of it's happening. It's happening so much, it's mind-boggling. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what's going on here. So I was at the point where I felt like I wasn't even doing anything good to my family. And this is the thing that most people don't get. When you're at the point, when you're so deep in the rabbit hole or the tunnel or the Mariana Trench or whatever the hell you want to call it, when you're so deep underwater, because let's face it, you're drowning, and it just keeps building and you keep sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking. And when you sink so far down, to when you look up, all you see is black. Guess what happens? Yeah, your senses start to shut down. All of them. You can't see straight because you can't think straight. You can't hear because you can't see or feel anything. Your ear will shut down eventually, because all you can hear is yourself screaming at yourself. Because that's literally what happened. You start screaming at yourself, well, I'm useless. People tell you you're not, but you're seeing. This is where I keep saying it, and I made a video about words. Words don't mean anything unless you, the person, give it power. You, the person, have to give words power. This is why I'm saying this. I hope this gets across to people. Until you're at a point where I was, you won't realize what I mean. Hopefully you learn, you don't get there. Pray to God nobody gets there, because it's such a dark place. It's a dark place to be in. Think about, I don't know if you can, but you might be able to somewhat put yourself in that place. Go in a dark room, put earmuffs on, blinders, whatever you got to do, even if you can't get in a dark room, but put blinders on, them little earmuffs that make all the sounds and noise go away. Put yourself in a place like that. No sound, nothing around you, nobody to touch you, nobody to talk to you, and you're in this place for months, years, some people. In my case, I was in that place for years. So when people say stuff to you, right, and they don't do things to back up what they're saying, words mean nothing. Well, whether you can see, hear, or nothing's wrong with you, well, words mean absolutely nothing. This is my point. And I'm going to try to go back to my point now. I'm still trying to give you the context. I know this is going to be a long video. I apologize, but I have to get this out. Now, because you're in such a dark place, right? And the people around you saying things, which is really not coming through anymore, because remember, you have earmuffs on, right? So you can't really hear it. But you're not blind yet. But you're going to get there. You're not blind yet, but you're going to get there. Right? So you have earmuffs, you can't really hear everything coming up. That's what it sounds like, right? I swear to God, that's what it sounded like. And then when they do what they say, it really sounds like blah, 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 because they're not doing what they're saying, right? Words mean nothing. Words have no power unless you give it power. And when you're so deep down in the darkness, none of those words have any power over you, because you're already in this darkness, this dark place by yourself, because you feel totally alone. And nobody's there to help you. Nobody's there to pick you up. Therapists can talk all they want to, but they're not there. They're only there for like 5 hours a day, or not, I'm lying. Maybe 30 minutes out of your 24-hour day, they're there, right? That's nothing. The next, 22 to 23 hours, you're in this darkness again, right? So you're drowning, you're constantly fighting just to breathe, and nobody to help you. So eventually, you go deeper. You're going to keep diving deeper, because nobody's actually pulling you out, because you're saying things and they have to live their lives. Let's face it, they have their lives to live. They have their stuff that they have to do for themselves too. But at the same time, you're drowning and you have no help, because you can't help yourself because you don't know how to swim. And you're trying to swim, but it ain't nothing happening. Nothing's happening. So you keep drowning. Right? And then you end up in this place now where your vision start to get cloudy. Because remember, if you think about it, it's like, I know I'm not doing this right. I know I'm not doing it right. But you start sinking, right? And you sink and you sink and you sink. And eventually, when you look up, the light's out. Just like in the darkness, you remember if you look at a lot of these movies where they talk about the documentaries and stuff, they talk about after you get so far down in the water, it's pitch black. Well, guess what? Same thing with depression. After you go down so far, you maybe can see stuff. You can't hear nothing, but you can see stuff still. When you go down far enough, then it becomes pitch black. Now you can't even see your hands in front of you. That's how depression works. Depression is like diving in the ocean. After you get so far down, you go blind. So you're not even seeing the people around you anymore and what they're doing, because your brain shut that off. Because you're screaming so much at yourself that you're useless and useless and useless. You serve no purpose. You don't need to be here anymore. Nobody around you wants you here anymore, because that's what you're seeing. They say one thing, but they do something totally different. It's not, a lot of it's not intentional. You know it's not intentional. You can tell yourself all day it's not intentional, but it feels intentional. It feels like you're doing this because you're useless to them. Like they serve no purpose to you. And you definitely no purpose to them. I know some of that sounds screwed and whatever, but I'm trying to explain it the best I can. And as they go deeper, it starts to come to the point where no matter how or what they do, you now feel like you're useless to all of them. Like you serve no purpose to them. You just feel like you're pulling them down with you. You get to that point. Like, I should not be here anymore because now I'm drowning them. Because the thing is, again, this is not intentional on their part. They have to live their lives too. They have their issues they have to deal with. They have their problems they have to contend with too. But because you're so deep in this trench and you're trying to grab onto even, as growing up, I heard this saying that a drowning, wounded animal, drowned, whatever the hell I want to call it. I forget the saying exactly. They'll try to grab onto even the thinnest thread if they can. If they think it will save their life, they'll grab onto the thinnest thread. This is how people end up in situations where they should not even be in, because they're drowning and they'll grab onto anything just in hopes it will pull them out of the water. You're drowning, and you're so far down now that you will grab onto anything. And the problem is, because there's no string or anything or nobody around to help you, nothing to help you, now you're grabbing onto yourself. Yeah, that just sounds bad, right? It is bad. Because you get to that point where you start to grab onto yourself, hoping you can pull yourself out of the water. And all y'all know that ain't gonna work. Right? And that's where I was. I was at the point where I'm literally trying to pull myself out of the water. But as we all know, and I keep saying, that ain't gonna do nothing. So what happened is when I got to the point where all my senses start to shut down. My sense of feel, sense of taste, sense of smell. Well, I mean, they were already gone, but now they're totally shut down because all your brain is doing is asphyxiating. Because now the airline you had on your tank, your scuba tank, is running out. So now your senses are starting to shut off. Taste, your smell, your sight, all that stuff starts to shut off. Again, you're running out of air. The tank you went down with is now gone. It's practically empty. Okay? So, I know, like I said, I love words. Words hate me. I'm trying to, and this is not something I can write down, because if I write it down, I'm going to forget it. So I just have to just say it. So, when you're at that point where everything goes pitch black, you can't hear or feel nothing, and now your air tank's running out, whatever you had in that tank, it's now running out. So you had practically nothing left. You're running on pure fumes, and the air in your lungs is, it's going to dry out too, eventually, which I got there too. But I'm trying to give you in stages. So now you're at the point where your senses start to shut down. Your sense of taste and smell. Nothing start to taste right anymore. You don't want to do nothing. You start losing energy because you're losing oxygen. So you don't have enough energy to keep doing anything anymore. This is why they say I feel tired all the time. Well, you're losing oxygen. It's not like you're physically losing oxygen because you're not there, but you're mentally losing oxygen because your body feels like you're in the deepest part of the ocean. Nothing around you, nothing to grab onto. You're just in this dark, pitch dark, black place that you cannot find a way out of. I mean, again, think about it, pitch black. There's no left or right. You don't know where up from down is. Black everywhere. There's no light. So you're there and you're looking like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to do? When you feel useless, and now you're starting to feel useless to the people around you, because that's usually what happens first. That's what happens first. You start feeling useless to the people around you, and more of an annoyance. So what you start to do, you remember I said you start trying to pick yourself out of the water? Well, guess what? That is actually the worst case scenario. When I say worst case, because the minute you start picking yourself up, which what I was trying to do, because I have nothing else to grab onto, so I start picking myself up. I know. Please bear with me. You go, oh, I'm causing a problem to people around me now. Which, that's the problem when you start picking yourself up. You start seeing yourself as a problem to the people around you. I know. I hope somebody can see this and probably try to put it together better. But when you get to that point, you start to seem like a burden to the people around you. Hence, now all the air in that tank is gone. Now you're running off just what's left in your lungs. And you're trying your damnness to hold your breath and try to swim back to the top. Because you ain't got nothing left. Yeah, it makes me want to cry just thinking about it. Okay, and you're trying your damnedest now, because now you're truly drowning. When I say you're truly drowning, now you're truly, truly drowning. Okay? Nothing left for you to do to try and hope to God you get to the top, but you know you're never going to get back to the top. You know this. And at that point, when everything done shut off, because now you have no tank, because remember, you had the tank on whatever air was left. You had something going on, and now there's none. So now everything's now starting to shut down. Now your muscles starting to shut down. Now your will's starting to die, because now you know you're never going to reach the top, because you know this is it. Nowhere left to go. So now you're in this pot. You're in this now spot. You're in the spot where everything is now pitch black. No sight. No options. And the only thing that's going through your head. Before I say this, let me say this. When people take their lives, no amount of family, no amount of friends, no amount of nothing is on their minds. I don't care what nonsense you want to bring up or think in your head. All that shit goes away. The only thing that's in this here head, the only thing that we think about is the fact, again, this is my opinion, I don't know about anybody else, but in my opinion, and my case, and my situation, and what was going on with me, I'm going to make this general statement that the only thing we think about is the fact that we're garbage, and here's a perfect opportunity to throw it the fuck out. Apologize for the language. But that's the only thing we see, is the opportunity to get rid of this useless piece of garbage that's just cluttering up the place. Because I'm a burden to this person, I'm a burden to that person, I'm a burden to everybody around me, and I'm pulling everybody down with me. And I don't need to do that, so just let me get rid of the garbage. Because I am that useless. And I serve no more purpose. And the only thing we see, at least me, was that opportunity to get rid of the garbage. How did I pull myself out of it, you may ask? To this day, I still can't tell you. I can make stuff up all I want to, but I don't know how I came out of that. Okay? I was one of the lucky ones, and I'm grateful I was one of the lucky ones, so I'm here to tell you about it. And I'm actually here, and I can actually tell you about my experience. Because that was probably one of the scariest times in my entire life. And I've been there multiple times. It's not the nicest place to be. Knowing that you can literally just go black like that. And it sits in the back of my head constantly. It's there, and I know it's there. I can feel it sitting there. And I tell people, my wife and my kids and my sister, and anybody who will listen, my therapist, that I still feel that uselessness. I still feel to this very moment utterly useless and a burden to people around me. Because the fact is, you never come back from that dark place. I can try all I want, and I know I'll never leave that dark place. But what I can tell you, there is hope. But in all that darkness and all the stuff, all that negative stuff and all that bad stuff that happened to me, there is still a chance to live somewhat kind of life. It ain't great. It ain't perfect. It ain't nice. It ain't awesome. But I'm telling you, there's a slim chance for you to keep yourself in a point where you can still see the light. You're still underwater, but at least you can now see the damn light. You're still down there. You're not here, but you're here, still under the water. But at least you can now see the light. There's still a chance. And the secret is to find a hobby. Out of all the stuff I've learned from therapy, all the stuff I've learned through all my years of therapy, and I've been through a lot of therapy, I can tell you that much. The only thing that truly makes me feel even the slightest bit useful, because even in the midst of my hobby, I still feel utterly useless. And I feel like a burden to the people around me, because that feeling will never go away. And people go, oh, don't say never. I don't care. You can tell yourself that all you want to. It sounds like it, because that is just nice words. But for the rest of us, the people who are drowning, we know it ain't never gonna go away. Okay, we know this. It ain't being optimistic. It ain't being nothing. You have to be. What's the word I'm looking for? Realistic. I'm being very realistic. It will never go away. But what we can do is control how much it affects us. So please stop telling us it will go away. It just makes us want to resent you more and want to resent ourselves even more for thinking like that. So please stop telling us that. I'd rather you say we can try to make it less effective or less draining on you. Or there are some other words, I don't know what they are. Again, I love words, but words hate me. But let us not take such an effect on us by finding ways, or help us to find ways to reduce that effect. But it's never going to go away. There's this saying, once you stare into the abyss keeps staring back, you can never walk away, or something like that. I forget how that goes. But once you dive that deep into darkness, there's no way you're going to pull yourself out of it. That trauma is going to stay with you for life. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's the best news I can give you. It ain't never going to go away. But you can control how much of an effect it has on you. I'm proof of it. But I know I say hobby. When I say hobby, I don't mean hobby. Just find out. No. It can't just be a hobby. It has to be something so powerful. It's a hobby, but it still has to be so powerful. It has to be so stimulating that it will take every ounce of thought process you have. It has to take everything you have and just pull it right in that direction. It has to have such a magnetic or gravity or whatever raw word you want to use to pull everything, all that negative and positive, right into it. It has to be that powerful. Again, I'm proof of it. And not because you think you're not going to like something or you don't think it's going to work for you or whatever it is. Try multiple hobbies. I'm telling you. It took me a few hobbies to get here. And I'm telling you, when you find that one hobby, because it really is just one. Once you find that one thing or one hobby or whatever you want to call it, that is so powerful, that pulls all that it just keeps pulling it, because it never stops building. Let's face it, just like you keep drowning and the longer you stay in water, your body gets heavier. So you're going to keep trying to sink. If it's not salt water, you're going to sink. Let's face it. And depression has no salt in it. So it's fresh water that you're just there. And we all know as soon as you get in fresh water, you start to sink. Well, same thing with depression. You're just sinking and you're just sinking. So it has to be something powerful enough to literally pull you up out of that water. So it's going to pull all that stuff away from you. It's going to pull all your negativity and all your grief and all your pain. It has to be powerful enough to pull all that away. And you will find that one, and it's usually that one thing. And when you find it, it's going to pull it all. And once it starts pulling, it's just going to keep pulling. And trust me, I know you don't have to believe a word I'm saying. But once you find it and you keep doing it, it's just going to keep pulling, and it's going to keep pulling. And I know I'm saying it keep pulling, but I really mean it keeps pulling, because it's building. And as you keep, and the second you stop it, the second you stop that one thing, you're going to see what I mean. It's going to, that feeling is constantly building so much. It's building, and it never stops building. So in other words, you're in fresh water, you're drowning. You have something that's pulling you out, but it can only pull you so far, right? And eventually, you're gonna hit a point where you're gonna balance out, where its pull effect is not that high anymore, and your depression effect is not that strong to keep pulling you down. So you're gonna be at a nice balance level where you're not so depressed, but you're not drowning either. So you're not drowning, but you're not floating, but you're there. You're in a better spot than you were a couple months ago, or a couple of years ago, whenever it is. Whenever you start this thing, and then you're going to be in a better place. But you can't stop doing it, because you're still in this deep water. That feeling never goes away. That people say, oh, depression gets better. No, depression never goes away. You just learn how to deal with it better. You find something that pulls you out of it. In my case, I've never gotten better, and I've never seen anybody who had depression claim they're better. They just learn how to deal with it. They learn how to associate what makes them feel bad and try to stay away from it. We just learn how to deal with it. And the minute we stop or whatever, we get pulled right back into it. So my hobby is what keeps me out of that state. And I'm grateful. And I'm trying to tell you, find something so powerful that it pulls you out of the water. It's never going to pull you away from the water, but it will pull you up far enough so you don't feel so useless. You don't feel like so much of a burden to the people around you. And trust me, even in the midst of that wonderful thing that pulls you out of the water, you're going to get pulled back down constantly. Because the minute that gravitation fluctuates, that pull fluctuates even a tiny bit, because it happens constantly with me, I'm telling you, it just pulls me down. That depression just, boom, hit me for full force. It's like going up a brick wall, 100 miles an hour. Bam! It hits you. But don't give up. And as long as you have your little thing, that one thing, it will pull you back up. You will recover from it. You will keep getting better. And you'll be better able to manage that brick wall hit. You won't hit so hard, but you'll hit. Every now and then you'll, bump heads, so to speak. You bump heads and you go, I got this. I got my thing to keep me balanced, keep me up out of the water. And it's not the thing that's pulling you out of the water. It's a feeling that thing gives you. That feeling of not being so useless, not being such a burden to people around you. Even if you are a burden, you don't even notice it because you're so focused. It pulls all that into it. It takes all that negativity away from you that you don't notice, even if you are being useless or negative or whatever the hell it is. But that's my story I'm trying to share with you. Find the one thing. And I really think therapies should start with, do you have a hobby? If you don't, let's find you one that will make you less depressed. That's how therapies should start, in my opinion. Because that is probably the one out of maybe 20 things or 50 things that I learned from therapy, that's actually the most effective, is that finding something that makes you not so useless. Because that's, in my opinion, that's what depression is. You feel so useless to the people around you, and most importantly, you feel so damn useless to yourself. You feel like a piece of trash that need to be thrown out. That's how I feel. I don't know about anybody else, but that's how I feel. And when I got to the point where I wanted to end my life, that was literally the only thing I was thinking about. I didn't care about, I'm going to say it again, I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about my kids. I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about my job. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about cars. I didn't care about anything else apart from the fact that I'm so damn useless and such a burden to people around me that I need to throw out this piece of garbage. All right? Sorry this video is so long and all the mix up, but I hope you get some good information out of it, and I hope it saves somebody's life. All right? Peace.